What if I told you that most of the people around you, whom you might think are rich, are actually poor from inside? Today, I am going to expose all of them by revealing the 9 hilarious signs of rich-looking poor people. Make sure to watch till the end because you will also discover what not to do if you want to be rich in your life. So, the first thing you will notice about these types of people is that they constantly post about their lavish lifestyles on social media. It might seem like they're rolling in money, but appearances can be deceiving. They post pictures of fancy meals, luxurious vacations, and expensive cars. But in reality, they could be living paycheck to paycheck and going into debt to maintain this image. They may rent expensive cars and clothes for photo shoots, or they may use credit cards to pay for their vacations. But why do they do it? Well, there are a few reasons why people might choose to live beyond their means. Some of them may do it for the attention. They may crave the likes and comments that come with posting glamorous photos and videos. Others may do it to impress their colleagues and friends. They may feel pressure to maintain a certain image in order to stay relevant. It's important to remember that these posts don't always reflect the truth behind the scenes. Here are some real-life examples of social media influencers who have lived beyond their means. In 2019, influencer Anna Delvey was sentenced to 4 to 12 years in prison for defrauding banks and hotels out of hundreds of thousands of dollars. She had created a fake persona as a German heiress and used it to live a lavish lifestyle that she couldn't afford. And in 2021, influencer Tiffany Haddish revealed that she had gone into debt after being audited by the IRS. She said that she had been spending more money than she was making and that she was now paying the price. There are many more examples like these of people who were simply trying to impress others on social media, but were empty from inside. However, it's just the first sign. Later in the video, I will also be giving you true wealth-building secrets. But for now, another common sign of a rich-looking poor person is when someone always wears branded clothes. They may have the latest designer fashion, but it's essential to remember that looking rich doesn't always mean being wealthy. Some individuals might buy these high-end items to fit in or impress others, even if it means sacrificing their financial stability. You will be surprised to know that luxury brands mostly target the poor and middle-class people who want to look rich. But why? Well, the reason is interesting. Poor and middle-class people have low self-esteem. They try to feel like they are somebody by proving it in the clothes they wear, the places they go, the car they drive, the furniture they have. It's all about proving themselves. On the other hand, rich people don't need to prove anything to anyone. They know their worth, and they also know it does not make sense to overpay just for the brand name. True wealth is not measured by the labels on your clothing, but by your financial security and well-being. When you will find brand-conscious person who is trying to look rich, that person will most likely be extremely arrogant and will constantly flaunting their achievements and material possessions. You must have heard of Warren Buffett. He's one of the richest person in the world, but you wouldn't know it by looking at him. He lives in the same house he bought in the 50s, drives a simple car, and wears modest clothes. Warren Buffett doesn't need to show off his wealth because he knows it's not about how much you have. It's about what you do with it. It's essential to recognize that true wealth is about financial wisdom, not arrogance. This brings us to our next hilarious sign. That is when someone appears rich but has no savings to back it up. They could be driving a fancy car, dining at high-end restaurants, and shopping for designer clothes but have almost no savings in the bank. Building wealth is not just about making money, it's about saving and investing it wisely. Now, why is this such a big deal? Let me break it down for you. Think of your savings as seeds you plant in your financial garden. If you spend all your money on short-term pleasures, it's like gobbling up all your seeds without ever growing a crop. You'll be left with nothing for the future. Let me give you a real-life example to drive this point home. Have you heard of the story of Mike and Susan? They both got high-paying jobs and decided to celebrate by buying a big, fancy house, driving luxury cars, and dining at top-notch restaurants. They were the talk of the town, living it up. But here's the twist. They barely had any savings. Fast forward a few years, and they lost their jobs due to unexpected circumstances. With no savings to fall back on, they had to sell their lavish house, downgrade their lifestyle, and face some tough times. Now, contrast Mike and Susan's situation with the story of Mark. Mark had a good job and earned a decent income. He didn't allow the temptation of quick fun to make him forget about saving and planning for the future. He lived within his means, saved a portion of his earnings. When life threw a curveball, he had his savings to rely on, and he didn't have to sell his dreams along with his assets. The moral of the story is this: instead of focusing solely on short-term spending, It's crucial to prioritize saving for your long-term financial well-being. But there is another problem with people like Mike and Susan. They managed to project an image of a rich person, but they were depending heavily on loans. Imagine someone always splurging on expensive things and showing off. But when you dig a little deeper, you find out they're constantly in debt. But why is taking loans such a big deal? Well, living a life full of loans is like building a sandcastle too close to the tide. It might look impressive at first, but eventually, it'll get washed away. Let me give you a real-life example to illustrate this. Have you heard of the lottery winners who suddenly come into millions of dollars but end up bankrupt a few years later? They went from rags to riches overnight, but because they didn't have the financial wisdom to manage their newfound wealth, they lost it just as fast. True financial success isn't about flashy spending. It's about managing your money wisely. But the problem is, how can you do that? Before I tell you how, first let's see the sixth sign of rich-looking poor person. These people might have a lot of money in bank without any bank loans, but still they are not rich and will be poor in near future. Do you know why? Because they have no long-term investments to secure their future. Because inflation will eat up all of their savings without them even realizing it. Building wealth isn't just about what you have today. It's about what you'll have in the future. Now, let's break it down in simple terms. Building wealth is like planning for a big, exciting trip. You wouldn't just pack for today. You'd pack for the whole journey. That's where long-term investments come into play. These can be things like stocks, real estate, or special accounts that you save for when you're older, like a retirement account. So the lesson here is pretty simple. Instead of only thinking about what you have now, it's crucial to think about your financial future. This brings us to our next sign, which is the people who just can't stop talking about their money. They brag about their income and how much they've spent on fancy things. While they might look like they're swimming in wealth, they might be overcompensating for something else. Constantly talking about money can be a sign of financial insecurity. True financial success is about being confident in your financial choices and doesn't require shouting about it from the rooftops. And these type of people are always finding ways to impress others. But there is another problem with these guys. They are not generous with their time or money. Take the example of Sarah. She is a rich girl. But when you talk to her about contributing to a charity or helping out at a local shelter, she's not exactly enthusiastic. It's as if her wealth is locked in a vault. Rich people, on the other hand, often find joy in being generous with their money. They support the causes they're passionate about and lend a helping hand to those in need. True wealth isn't just about accumulating money. It's also about using that wealth to make a positive impact on the world and in the lives of others. Trying to look rich and impress others is just one problem of our society. There are people who seem perfect and extremely attractive on social media with the help of filters, and as a result, many others experience self-doubt regarding their own attractiveness. However, in this video, I have busted this myth of society, so must check it out.